Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Alliance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. It is Saturday evening, 8:14, a cool 95 degrees, probably slightly warmer in the shop, but I got something cool for you, something that is a little bit of a change of pace from our norm. And to get things started, I'm going to throw this down. If you're new here, timestamps and links down below, they are there for your convenience. This beautiful Hazet work mat we featured. We have spent a pretty good chunk of time, not gonna lie, talking about the Hazet seasonal sale at KC Tool. To date this for future use, this was summer 2025. And what I'm gonna do, of course we've gone through this when it was announced, we covered it on the computer. I brought in, some stuff that I was interested in right off the bat. We sort of showcased it all in one whack. Not necessarily a tool haul, just kind of a, hey, the seasonal we talked about is live, here's what some of the stuff looks like type of a thing. And we didn't get to go into our usual detail, and that's what we're going to do here, but we're going to do it for a standalone item. Got some feedback from people when I dropped the Wera 2025 Advent Calendar teaser. Again, my goal is to help you get things without having to pay more than retail for them. And I do that without affiliate links, believe it or not. But this gem right here, if you take a close look, there's something in the corner that is $159.99. Think, oh, that's spendy. That's a set of 10 Hazet wrenches. It is 50% off with the seasonal sale. That makes it a killer frickin' deal, and that makes it fully justified to be further explored in better detail by you and I right now. So this is it. This is Hazet's set. It's a 10-piece set. If you like these, you can build out upon it. If you're like, they're okay, but those bigger sizes are expensive, mix and match. Do whatever floats your boat. But opening this thing up, absolute beauty of a set. We've got this, the Hazet 600N. Now, some of you are thinking like, Hazet 600, you've done that before. Don't get confused, and you're not, because I have, but I've done an absolute steal on tool of the day of this, the Hazet 600 LG. These have been really good. There's something I hate about them, and it's that they do not offer that in SAE, American, fractional, imperial, whatever you want to call it, sizes. It's metric only. We have the same thing with the Stahlwille Series 14, which is sort of their longer pattern wrenches. So 600 in 600 LG. Again, anytime you see LG with Hazet, think of long. So there's text right on cue. 1 second, I've got to respond to that one. Beautiful. Alphas got me the job done on the watch of all things. So there we go. What I wanted to do though is drop down a Hazet catalog, because this is what I get to do when we don't have to comb through 5-6 items in a tool haul, right? We can spend a little extra time. Recently, actually today, I think it was KC Tool Haul 126, where I went ahead and pulled the trigger on some 1/2-inch drive sockets, which I really, really like. We did the same thing. Just jumped in the catalog, kind of showed you Hazet's process. This is why paper catalogs kick ass, and why I still prefer them. Basically right here, again, text messages right on cue. Good grief, it's Saturday, people. Give me a break. But, oh my goodness. Alright, well, this is about a duster, so I'll make a pause. But anyway, right there, we have got the form cut to size, then forged. So again, picture your metal probably, sheared out, some type of a die or something. Could be done by hand, who knows. It's forged, the blank is trimmed, the blank, my goodness, is sandblasted. Oh, jeez. Sorry. It's like, no peace in this life. It's a mix of work and like leisurely things about old Mopars. But we've got the open end head getting milled. You've got the box end head broach. So again, think of your business end on the front, think of your business end on the back. Coming in, you've got the fine grinding of the heads and the handle. You've got it hardened and tempered. Again, all these processes combine to make a very high quality, long-lasting wrench. If you do these out of order, you can severely impact things. This is often what you find in cheaper wrenches. Up next, we're to number 9. This thing is vibratory ground. So you know those little weird things one of your buddies has in his shop from Harbor Freight, sits there and shakes, and you're like, what the frick is that? And he unscrews the lid and pulls out some hardware, and you're like, whoa, you know, that's like really nice. And he's like, yeah. And he shows you a pile of rusted fasteners. There you go, vibratory polisher. Right there, sandblasted. Then the head is polished, which is signature Hazet styling we'll take a look at. And then it is nickel and chrome plated. Real quick here, we want to take a look at this. This is acceptable slop in your DIN ISO standards. And what does Hazet do? They exceed that. Thank you. This is kind of what you can see with Koken. All right. That is something I prefer. These new techs, I don't know. I'm going to wait on them. However, I want to drop this down. This is a quick little overview of Hazet wrenches. Now, I do actually have some of their 440s. Yes, not gonna lie, 440 was a big reason for purchasing. That's one of the things I like about the Mac Precision Torques. They keep the Facom 440 part number in them, right? These, however, are totally juxtaposed to those long offset wrenches. These are tiny electronic wrenches. I've got like a mix of Gedore and Stahlwille with Hazet, so go figure. Right here, this is the item of the hour, your standard open box combination wrench, the 600N from Hazet. Coming down, you've got the 600LG, which we showed again. That is the same open box combo that we have in the 600, just in an extended version, or as they'll say, extra long, 25% longer. You got the 603, you've got some ratcheting. I have a lot of you that really like the 603, and I think 1 or 2 of you over the years have mentioned the 610 being perfect for you. After that, you've got the double rings, then you've got your kind of specialty stuff, your S's, half moons, flare nuts, all that good stuff. So we're going to come back up to the 600N. Just their standard affair combination wrench. If we take a look at that, it is a long, slim design. It's got a slim head, and they advertise the shank with the sturdy Hazet double T profile. Right there, that is going to be your metric sizes. This is your bread and butter. If you want the most comprehensive wrench sets you can get from Hazet, you can go 5.5, which is pretty small, all the way up, your eyes did not deceive you, to 80. Absolute insanity. And then, of course, in SAE land, this is, you can get double offsets in SAE sizes, and you can get the 450N, which is the double open end in SAE. But in 600, if you see this and you think, man, that freaking seasonal price is unbelievable, you pick this up and you love it. It's your go-to. You like it better than everything you've had, and you're like, but dang, you know, these German companies with their great wrenches, I wish I could get SAE sizes. In this, you can. So this, just like Stahlwille's Series 13 wrenches, you can get an SAE equivalent in the 600N line. Your 600LG, which is absolutely glorious, sadly not available. So if you want to change that, which I will tell you right now, if anyone from Hazet is watching this, or Colin forces you to consume it somehow, if you make the 600 LGs, I will be a day one buyer. I will pre-order them. I will be part of a pre-order group that if you hit a certain threshold, you'll justify the cost of the tooling to make it happen. I realistically think that's probably why we don't have 600 LGs in SAE sizes, and I think that's why we don't have Stahlwille's 14s in SAE sizes. The likely cost of tooling up to make them, coupled with the... you never really know how well they're going to sell. You know, there's getting to be more people like me, right? And, you don't mind, you know, working on your 60s era muscle cars with German tools that were made yesterday, right? It doesn't have to be vintage, but I'm sure they've done a cost-benefit analysis on it. They've got the standard. Is the market there? I don't know. Convince them again. I would throw down in a pre-order, a Kickstarter, whatever, and say, hey, I'm serious, make this, you know, here's a % down, put my name on the inside of the box, you know, with all the other cool people, and I will buy it when it comes out. But with that aside, this is what we need to look at. This glorious little set right here. I say little only in regards to the LGs behind it. If I get these out, I tried to put these back really cool because I knew we would be doing this at some point in time. Simple packaging. I personally have to talk about the box because I feel like this is a meshing. It's not too... You could walk into your granddad's work, minus the digital torque wrench, ignore that, okay? But you could find this, you know, covered in dust, and if you ignore some of the, like the plastics and the digital torque wrenches in some of the subset pictures, you could have this as packaging from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right? It looks modern, but it, at the same time, could still pass for old. And for someone like myself, I appreciate that. I really do. And I am a fan. So this set right here, we don't need this guy. Actually, we do. Good grief, what am I saying? So we're going to come in, we're going to flip 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 10. Now you're thinking like, wow, this is 10 to 19 complete set. Haha, you don't know your German tools well, do you? This is pretty close, and you can absolutely build this out to your liking, but at the top of the set, 8, 10, 12. Now, I've seen forum posts, I know the shtick, there's always somebody like, I need a 9. Apparently, like, I guess there was a legit old Alfa Romeo where the 9 was a thing, if I'm thinking correctly. I don't know about all of that. I'm just here to kind of tell you what I know, and I have seen people say that. I'm sure there's been some oddball stupid thing, probably on a Ford, that does it. And then, of course, there's also... what would it be? Again, I'm not a metric guy. 11. I had this throw down with like coworkers this week. They're like, yeah, it's an 11. I'm like, no, it's not. The governing body that produces this product does not use the metric system. It's SAE. But the point being, 7/16 and 11 millimeter, you can essentially interchange and interuse those. So if you love these wrenches, you buy the SAE, you're going to get your 7/16. Very, very common for 1/4 inch fasteners. You wouldn't necessarily have to have the 11. The American mindset, you see this all the time, is, well, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So you're probably going to come in and buy the 11 anyway. But if that's what you're going for, 19 down to 12 is accounted for. 11 is missing, 9 is missing, anything smaller than 8 is missing. So 8, 10, 12 through 19, no skips. So you're like, what about the 16 and 18? They're actually here. Okay. So again, it all just depends on what you're into. Some of you are sitting here like, I can't believe they leave out the 11. Others of you are like, what? You know, why do we have that? Who's going to use a 12? Japanese-based people. You know, if you're into Hondas and Nissans and stuff, it's your manufacturer, whatever you prefer, your hobby. There's probably a set, roughly consistent list of hardware, and it doesn't deviate too much, or maybe it does era by era, build by build. You know, they come in, they completely redesign, and they tweak a bunch of stuff. It depends what you like, okay? You know, if you're into 2nd gen stuff, maybe you have no Torx fasteners, and then 3rd gen, everything that could be a Torx fastener is Torx. It's the same thing with hardware. That's why, again, vast majority American mindset is complete set. You know, I don't want to be here and need the 11 and not have it. So do with that what you will. But again, $160 nets you these 10 wrenches. Gotta tell you, I am a fan. My first big experience with Hazet wrenches, interestingly enough, we're going to come over here, is a 603. This was brought in long ago when I was trying to kind of feel out what direction I wanted to go. I liked the Stahlwilles really well, but I'm like, what if I like that better? And trying to just get a feel for the wrench and get something subtly different. At the time, I hadn't bought the Series 14s. That's where this came into the picture. This is the 603. You can see they've got these 13 here on the open end. You flip it, you've got the same thing. You're going to see a very similar profile across all their wrenches design-wise. Now, obviously, here you've got the offset, and again, that's what set these apart. This is the length, right? So if I come in here, we take our 13 603 against our 13 millimeter 600 down below, that is your difference in length. Kind of regret grabbing the 14 now, but I did, but it's relatively close to the 13. So That's kind of your Hazet wrenchology for this evening, right? 603, 600N, 600 LG. Shorten this guy just a smidge since it's a 14 versus a 13. But if you're thinking like, man, you know, this, ooh, I love that 600 LG. I bought that on Tool of the Day too. I don't know. I use those so often and I love them for their leverage. I don't really think I would want to buy their standard 600N, even though this is a stupid good deal. This, however, is shorter than the standard, and it provides the offset, and then that is where you kind of maximize your value. This is the same profile extended, right? This offers up an offset, a shorter wrench. You love your LGs, you throw your 13 on, you don't have clearance, right? Literally, you fan it across and you can't turn the bolt. So what do? You come in with something shorter, and instead of being up here on the shock tower, you get just a little bit of play, and that allows you to break something free. Put a final tighten on it, whatever you're doing. That is kind of how those stack up. So what I want to do now is jump in. We just cannot get that to line up to my liking. So what I'm going to do is stick in Germany, right? We're going to come over here and get this odd duck out of the way first. This is the Wera Joker, Czech Republic, if you will. Great wrenches. This is kind of a bare bones one. The Jokers with the plates, they actually do add kind of a neat functionality that you don't see anywhere else. Good design, quite comfortable. How does it compare versus your 600? Shorter. Look at that. Standard affair, Hazet 600, Wera standard issue Joker. The 603, you ask. I know what you're thinking. Pretty much identical in terms of your overall length. So throw that down. We're now going to go old number 7. You think, what is that? What are you talking about? Some of you know it's Gedore. These are kind of under the radar. There's times, I haven't seen them on Tool of the Day in a long time. Used to, they would come up regularly in like a blue steel case. Super cool. This is very Stahlwille-esque, and what I mean by that, when I come in and I compare this number 7 to the 13, you're going to see it's a little shorter, right? Just a smidge. If you're thinking like, well, how does it compare to the 603? It looks longer. Just a smidge. It's almost like the exact difference, right? Maybe, you know, fractionally, incrementally more between the 600 and the number 7. But you kind of get the gist of it, right? The thing is, if we shift our attention now over to Stahlwille, which, my apologies, I grabbed a 14 in because, well, I have to, because this drives me nuts. As many great things as I could say about these marvelous wrenches, there's something that absolutely just infuriates me. And I know open box 13 means open box standard design. I know open box 14 means open end offset, right? But in the instance, if I grabbed a 13 here, you're like, yeah, they've got it here for the box, and that's kind of cool. They oriented it this way for your open end. No, this is a 14 millimeter wrench. This is 14 millimeter open, 14 millimeter box. The open box 13 is what drives me nuts, because the 13 is integral to the part number. If we come in right here to Hazet, this is a huge thing for myself and probably many of you. We know that this is the 600N, right? We've introduced it, and if I get the focusing, 600N, right? If I come over here, you've got 13. Flip it, 13. Go to the box, 13 and 13. All 4 points. There's only 4 ways you could possibly use this short of cutting and welding it. They're all labeled clearly and decisively. 12, 14, same thing. With the Gedore, okay? We're going to come in here now. It kind of takes a page out of Stahlwille's book. It's oriented in this manner. Down here, it's oriented there. But all 4 corners, if I were to lift that label off, this thing has 13. Now, Stahlwille will get 14. The main takeaway, though, between all of this, outside of that personal pet peeve, which has 0 impact on the functionality of the wrenches, it's just, I make these videos, I don't get paid, people don't send me stuff, I don't have to lie or cover, conceal, pretend to be happy. I can complain as much as I want to, regardless of whether it's very, very important, you know, like I just touch this and get a burr and have to go to the ER, or just like, man, I wish they would stamp that differently. And I'm straight up and honest, and that to me is something that holds back the Stahlwille just on that front. I have nothing else negative to say. I just wish that I could get them stamped differently, even if I could have the open box 13, but right here we had the 13 or the 14 oriented the other way. It would solve that. You'd still see the 13, and you could get confused briefly, but that's my knock. That's the only knock. However, this is a big deal. Some of you might say, this Gedore, I brought one in, I was disappointed. It was uncomfortable. The reason you would find this wrench uncomfortable is due to how thin it is. I mean, this isn't like a razor blade by any stretch of the imagination. This is a very, very thin wrench for a standard affair. This is nothing special. This is not some thin profile. This is their standard go-to 600N of Hazet. This is the number 7 of Gedore. It's their combination wrench in its garden variety form. Insanely thin. Can go places a ton of wrenches cannot go, but perhaps at the cost that it digs into your hand a little bit. You might not like it. Now, that said, in addition to the incredibly thin design, this is sort of wishboned out. We could start dropping, you know, like colored dye right here, and it's going to pool in this channel. Same thing on the flip side, sort of that wishbone. That makes this even lighter. In addition, again, to thin and light correlating, absolutely, in the case of this Gedore wrench. The Stahlwille, that's one of their signature styling marks, right? Not only is their wrench very thin in comparison to virtually everything out there, the Gedore possibly being like the one caveat where you're like, hey, I think that might be thinner. You're typically put either one of these wrenches up against something and you're like, oh yeah, I see what he means there now that it's there in front of my face. But same thing, this is kind of carved out. It's part of the design. It will pull liquid. It's thin. It's never been an issue for me where I've thought, that's egregiously uncomfortable, get me my fat wrench, okay? And it's also a selling point in the sense that a lot of people online go in and buy thin wrenches. Now, granted, sometimes they're 100% necessary. It's like a ridiculous design from the factory. But a lot of the times people are using or buying cheap, you know, Amazon-esque thin wrenches. If they had Gedores or Stahlwilles in their toolbox, you wouldn't necessarily need to do that. So it's kind of a catch-22 there. But if we take the Stahlwille in front of the Gedore and sandwich it with this Hazet, look at that difference in the beam, okay? This is your German takeaway. Let's get the Wera in here. We're going to have Wera on the front, which is surprisingly thin. You wouldn't think it was that thin. That Stahlwille and the Gedore. Now keep in mind the Stahlwille, slightly different finish than your Gedore, your Hazet, and your Wera. So that kind of gives an illusion, you know, if you will, for thinness. It's a little bit more lustery, so it reflects more light, doesn't kind of have the same pitch on it. Look how beefcake the beam is on the Hazet, right? And that's really thin compared to an awful lot of wrenches, right? You're obviously not sacrificing strength. These all exceed, you know, expectations. This is, again, where you can come in, and if you use excellent base material, if you evaluate the base material, if you check it, if you're meticulous, you can thin something out, you can lighten it, and you can still retain the strength of if you had a frickin' wrench that thick, okay? And again, the trade-off is these are going to go places a lot of standard, cheaper combination wrenches won't go. The Hazet, again, though, look at that extra length. You know, that's probably something you would like to see, is a little slightly thicker beam on a longer wrench. The Stahlwille just looks so thin there with the luster. The Gedore, when it's just those two, kind of looks like it gives it a run for its money. Again, if you ever want to see these things mic'd out and gone into great detail, we can do it. This is to just kind of give you, by my standards, you know, a quick overview and comparison, so you can see this and be like, I've had thin wrenches. I've had, you know, my coworker has these ones and they're thin, and that's a selling point. I hate them. They're not comfortable. I despise them. When I try German wrenches, I'm going to go straight to Hazet. Now, if I hate it, I'll deviate, you know, on my next purchases, but that's my first pick of the litter, right? You might be different. You might be like, I hate the thinner the better. Give it to me. Gedore, Stahlwille, I'm coming. This is just a visual. There's not a lot of people, especially stateside, that don't sell this stuff that can sit here and give you unbiased views on this stuff, right? I'm not telling you which one's better. I'm not telling you which one you're going to like. I'm trying to show you what they look like, the obvious differences in them, and why one may be preferential versus the others for certain preferences. Again, all this is totally subjective is the problem. I could come in here and tell you Stahlwille is like a gift from the gods, right? And the thing is, you might get the Gedore and be like, that's not uncomfortable, I love it, and it's lighter. Or you might get the Hazet and be like, man, both of those seem like flimsy throwaways. This Hazet, though, man, built like a tank. Personal preference entirely, 100% subjective. Now, if you've got something thin or thick and it's, too fat to go in, too thin to function, bends, spreads, breaks, snaps in half, yes, that's another selling point. All four of these, particularly these three, excellent options, kind of a lifetime tool, in my opinion. Short of you, using oxyacetylene torches and chop saws or something. So, where does that take us? That takes us back to the wonderful world of wrenches. We've covered your German stuff, except for this. Okay. I'm going to come back to my 14. This is the Hazet 600N, and I promise this is the last German wrench. This is the Stahlwille Open Box 14. Now, see there? We've got Open Box 14. You think, yeah, it must be a 14 millimeter. Well, it is indicated here, right? Yeah, 14. It's no big deal. Open Box 14, you're like, yep, 14. And you're like, wait, why is that over there? Again, this is the series of the wrench. So, if we dig the 13 back out, you'll see it for yourself. 14 mil open box 13, 14 mil open box 14. I will be the first to admit a 13-13 and a 14-13 and a 14-13 and 13-14. Those are the confusing ones. Are you confused? You should be. If it's a 10 mil, a 17 mil, not as big of a deal. I trust you can look at your wrench and say that's the longer offset one, because that's the difference. Open box 13 is your standard affair from Stahlwille. Your open box 14 is their longer pattern, and it is their offset. So think of their 14 as a hybrid between the Hazet 600 LG and the Hazet 603. You're getting the extra length, and you're getting the offset. So I've got the Stahlwille here we're going to put on the top. Standard comparison here between these two. Your Hazet 600N is almost the exact same length. I mean, we're talking like 3/4 of an inch there at the tip with the angle, right? If we come in now and we line up two Hazets, 600 LG on the bottom versus the 14, LG takes the cake. In terms of, if you're like, I just want the longest German wrench possible, in terms of what I've got, I don't know what Gedore has because I don't have one of their paper catalogs. I've tried for years. 600 LG will take the cake. Now, setting all that back down, we're going to grab this guy and we're going to go across the pond. We've got this Icon here. Now, Icon wrenches, you might not know because they only have these in stubbies. This is kind of a long pattern wrench, okay? So we're going to go straight versus the 600. And you will see it is just edging it out. If we take the 600 LG, it's considerably longer than the Icon. Now, another Taiwanese-based wrench, which has actually grown on me, I'm a big fan, and I sadly don't have a metric equivalent of, is the Mac Precision Torque. This is 9/16. I can interchange it with a 14 millimeter. It versus the Icon, that kind of gives you a look. Let me flip that so you can. These are very funky, the Precision Torques. It's not great for comparisons on my hand. But this is the 600N versus the Precision Torque. Not much difference. That means, you guessed it, the 600 LG will continue to reign supreme in the overall length of my wrenches. Makes it special, makes it useful. Again, I really did try. I've had 2 sales canceled this year on metric Precision Torques. One for here and one for work, ironically, but both times it was 2 sets. And then in the past, I think I probably missed out an additional 2 to 3 times, like purchased and canceled from Mac. And now they're apparently like phased out, and I don't really want to get the RBRT. But that said, sticking with Mac, I'm going to come in here, if I don't drop everything, and we're going to get this Proto ASD. It's their anti-slip design. I want to say this one might be a longer pattern. So 9/16 is what I've got. We're going to compare it to the Hazet 600N. Look at that. Your Proto finally edges this out. However, if I come in and I grab the 600 LG, it is going to dwarf it by about box and a half inch, right? So the finish on these is a little funky. I was trying to find a modern day equivalent of my beloved Challenger 500s, which full chrome on those. They're fantastic wrenches. I wish I could find like new old stock or something of them. I would buy them up. But that was just here for an American comparison. And now we're going to come in and stick with America. And this wrench, I'm very interested in comparing. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Proto on the bottom, Hazet in the middle. Right, that's right. This is my satin one, my full polished at work, because I went that route since I couldn't find Challenger 500s. Look at this profile here, okay? If you are old school Americana, you're going to be accustomed likely to something like I enjoy, the Proto Challengers, which are kind of thinner, you know, relatively speaking. The Wright, though, if you are a fan of the Wright Grip, it is probably the closest thickness-wise to the Hazet. That said, the one thing that I absolutely love about the Wright Grip wrenches, and it has nothing to do with the box end or the trick open end, it is how they formed this. This isn't just squared off 90 degrees. This is like a beautiful rolling effect. And what I mean by that, there's no harsh edges. There's no harsh corners even. Take that, you know, how you will, but I mean, this is just smooth. It is a smooth transition. If we were doing cylinder heads and you said to me, hey, I've ported each one of these differently, which one of these flows best? The Wright would have the best flow, especially on the thick beam. Now that said, Wright standard issue stuff versus the Hazet, just to get those two alone, box end to box end, look what you're giving up on that side. And again, if we came in with our LG, it's even more pronounced. So now that said, I don't want to completely mislead you. This is not a rough transition. It's not like there's a sharp edge or anything, and it's smooth. It's just not Wright Grip smooth. So if that's something you value, that Wright Grip is going to be a very comfortable wrench. Lastly, and I saved this because it's my only Japanese wrench I can show you, it's a 14 mil. It is from Kyoto Tool Company. Check this out. These two are very similar. Beam thickness, everything. Again, the Hazet edges it out in the length. We're going to time out there, so I just did it manually. The KTC might have a smoother transition than the Hazet, but the way it's designed, it does something the Hazet doesn't do, where the Hazet is more of like a rectangular structure, 90 degree almost, right? Smoothed on the radius. This does that too. However, the KTC also incorporates a design similar to what we see with the Stahlwille and Gedore, where if I had a vial of colored blue ink, you would just see it start to collect in this channel. That thins it out, it lightens it, but here on the beam, top and bottom, it's a beefcake similar to the Hazet. So, which wrench is right for you? That's for you to decide. This whole thing is just to showcase the Hazet 600Ns and how they compare. 600 LG is a very close companion because this is the exact same wrench. It's just longer. And as you can see, out of what I've got here, which constitutes, I do have some long pattern Huskies. I don't think they're quite this long though. And my old school starter wrenches, which were raised panel Craftsman's. Okay. This is pretty much what I can throw at you in terms of more exotic than that, you know, than like Lowe's, Home Depot, Craftsman USA. German, Japan, a little higher end American. I don't have Snap-on. I might have something, but I'm not going to put it here because there's a very good chance this video needs to come out before we ever hit 10,000 subscribers. Particularly since that would then make this video sit a really, really long time based on the sheer number of Snap-on videos I have stacked waiting to go. But, bottom line, Since I scored these 600 LGs, not the N's on the seasonal, but these on Tool of the Day, it was a couple years ago now. It was a stupid good buy as well. I love these. These are fantastic. My complaint, again, just like with Stahlwille Series 14, with a slightly longer profile and the offset of, say, your 603, they do not offer American sizes, right? Kind of a buzzkill, at least for people like myself. But these came in to play here. I would oftentimes have been hesitant and been like, okay, this is my gateway. I'm never going to see 10 Hazet wrenches for $160 again, especially the way the world's going. This right here made the purchase of these a zero no-brainer. I absolutely love these. These will complement them because, again, on average, you got that like 25% or so that were shorter. If I love this, break stuff free, but I run into a situation where it's like, oh, well, you know, here I am, you know, on the upper control arm bolt, and guess what? I can't go anywhere. The wrench is too long. You know, if the wrench was like anywhere from here down, I could absolutely break it free or ratchet it up or whatever. That's where your standard length combination comes in. So very cool to see those side by side in tandem together. And I am thrilled to have acquired this set on Tool of the Day for a stupid good price, and this set on the seasonal for a fantastic price as well. Now, if I released this in sequence, you wouldn't see this for, I don't know, like summer 2026 or later. I don't want to do that to you. I'm trying to get better about like front loading some of the stuff, the Wera Advent Calendar, you know, release, the seasonal, like if I make the video about the seasonal, hype it up, walk you through everything, but release it after the seasonal's over, it's done no good for anyone, right? So I'm going to front load this one. Not immediately because I've highlighted this, but if you were on the fence, if you think like, man, I bought those Stahlwilles, you know, I don't know if I want to get Hazet, maybe I'll go Stahlwille. This is, again, another sampling of how the two contrast and compare. In terms of real world uses, I don't think I've had any of these long enough to tell you anything, because again, I take that seriously and I take that over years. I can tell you in the few years I've had each of these sets, I've had no issues with them. If I did, that would make a great video, but I haven't. They just kind of work. Sorry for the boring spoiler there, right? So yeah, that's what we got. And again, you can snag these as well if you want to do it. I don't know that you'll ever see a price that low again, at least stateside. You know, granted, if you're in Germany, you know, do with it what you will. But the 160 from the Hazet Summer 2025 seasonal, it's the time to try them out. If you don't even, especially if you don't have the Stahlwille, right? If you haven't been around German tools or jumped into the game and caught those on Tool of the Day or a seasonal, this would be a great place to start. And then again, if you're like, man, I wonder what those Stahlwilles are like, and you bring in, say, you're so disappointed in these, you grab like your 11, right, or a 7, or maybe a 21, 22, 24, something, and you're like, oh man, I wish I would have bought those Stahlwilles. Move forward with that. If you have to flip these, if you genuinely hate any of these German wrenches, you can, you know, do pretty good, I would think, you know, on the resale market. But it's not something I spend a lot of time on. I just enjoy building them up and making use of them. So that's what I got. I'm gonna get closer to that fan, and I forgot to bring water out here. But yeah, seasonal killer deal. This is a great wrench set. Again, fill it out as you want. If you don't need anything bigger than 19, you're home free. Maybe you want to come in, grab your 7 or an oddball size they skipped. If you're like, oh man, you know, I'm heavy duty, you know, I do diesel stuff, I wish we had bigger sizes, you can buy bigger sizes. You can, again, what was it, 80 millimeter? Like, this is your go-to in Hazet. Like, if you want the most comprehensive wrench set, it's the 600N. So will we get the SAEs? We might, especially if they're like, if they were $160 right now. I think that answer would be yes, they're here. But I so wish I could get SAE sizes in this size, like this pattern, the 600 LGs. That would just make me so happy. But I'm gonna quit rambling. I want to know your thoughts. Again, for those of you that have the Hazet 600Ns, whether you picked them up like I did on the seasonal sale, and you're like, man, I've been using those as my go-tos for the last, you know, 6 weeks. killer, best wrenches I've ever used. Or, yeah, there's nothing wrong with them, but I prefer my insert brand X. Tell people. Similarly, if you've got the Hazets because it was too good of a deal to pass up, and you're like, man, these just do not hold a candle to the Stahlwilles, you know, tell people. You know, tell them what you're doing, what you do, you know, what sizes you use, what constraints, what matters more to you, comfort, length, durability. If it's a situation where you brought these in and you had the Stahlwilles already and you're like, God, these are so much better than Stahlwille, tell people. If you're like, you're all idiots, the Hakko Max line is fractions of the price and vastly superior. Again, your opinion can't be wrong, especially when it's backed with your first-hand experience. My seat time with all of these German wrenches, it's been good. But like I said, it's been a couple of years, you know, like 5-6 years probably with the oldest sets. And then the problem is, you know, like, life's pretty cool. And instead of like having like the beat up worn out, and I'm like, ooh, you know, I want to try that. And then that ultimately keeps you from progressing through an evaluation period as fast because you've got what? Options. I can come out here and I'm like, oh, I feel like using Hazet today. And I can grab ratchet, socket, wrench, go to town. You know, same with Stahlwille. I can come out and say, well, I feel like coking today. And it's like, well, I don't have coke and wrenches. Let's use Hazet. And ultimately, that drags things out. It's like if you drive a different car every day of the week, you're going to take you a lot longer to get to 50,000 miles, right? But so far, absolutely nothing to complain about. Minor gripe on that Stahlwille front, which again, in terms of an ideal layout, the way they've done this, beautiful. Do I kind of miss the wishbone of the Stahlwille because I've had them and used them so long? Yes, I do. So in a perfect world, if I could hybridize things, I'm sure neither manufacturer wants to hear that, but that might be the way I go. And if I could add Wright's rounded corners in there, I'm a pretty happy guy, right? I'm running out of things to complain about. But I'll leave it at that. Your thoughts and opinions always appreciated. If you enjoy this type of a video, let me know. Again, this is what we'll eventually get to. You know, it's all in the works. You know, I only have so much free time. But, in this case, some of these items we picked up recently, we will spend a little time on them, get to go into detail on one item, and kind of get to maybe provide a little bit more detail than we would in a tool haul. So that's it. You know the drill. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you got something to add, leave a comment. If you haven't subscribed and you want to be like, hey, I wonder what this idiot has to say about the Hazet Tool Check Plus type of a thing that's on the seasonal sale, subscribe. Ring the bell. Jump your Charger across the creek, crash down, hear a rattling in the trunk, and realize I bought 2 sets of those to give one away as a gift at Christmas, and it's perfect timing because you were on your way to Grandma's house and you got time to wrap it. YouTube just might notify you. We got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. Well, that said, I got to go put all this stuff up now, so I'm going to do that, try to cool down a little, and I do hope you have a great weekend. Most importantly, I hope I catch you back here for more from the shop. Oh, it's bonus time. There I was putting things away, and guess what? I stumbled upon this little gem, and you're thinking, well, what is it? Will look familiar? It should. We just looked at these 600Ns, right? This is a Hazet 600N 7mm, and I had bought this, I think, for underbody belly pins. It was before I had, like, expanded the Stahlwille stuff out to kind of sample it. Now I can pair it here, and we've got 7, 8, 10, 12 through 19, so we're one critical piece closer to completing the set.